What's good, everyone? Today I'm going to be reviewing Alien Romulus. Now, this was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. When I heard Fede Alvarez of Evil Dead, I love Evil Dead, was making an Alien movie. I'm like, that's perfect. And the trailers came out. I'm like, this looks perfect. I was super excited for it. And I did think the movie was really, really good, but because my expectations were so high, it did end up kind of disappointing me in a sense. I did have some problems with it. It's definitely not a perfect movie, but I did really like it. Now, this movie does take place in between Alien and Aliens, and it has some really clever ways of tying in. I won't spoil it, but it actually does work really well most of the time. Now, our two main characters are Rain, like water from the sky. Her name is just Rain, played by Kaylee Spaney, and she has this sort of synthetic. That's she's calls her brother. That's obviously not her real brother. Played by David Johnson, who does a really great job of just playing like basically two characters where he has like this like chip in his brain that changes his personality that they like swap out multiple times in the film, and he's just really good at playing like this sort of stuttering malfunctioning robot and then going just instantly to this like more serious engineer robot, and it's like really really good performance where he's playing like two completely different characters in the same scene, and he does a great job. These two main characters and a group of their friends are living on this really crappy mining planet where they're stuck here, I guess mining, and the company Wayland Yutani won't let them leave, and so they devise this plan to go up to this abandoned space station that's kind of found its way to get stuck in their atmosphere, and they're going to get some cryopods. They're going to steal some cryopods so they can make this 9-year journey to a better planet. And right here is where some of my problems with this movie begin, and that it is very derivative. Teenager stuck on a crappy planet with a crappy job who wants to go off to some faraway planet, go on some adventure to have a better life. I mean, that's the plot of like 3 Star Wars movies, not to mention a bunch of other movies too. And so, it's all executed well, but it's just something familiar. And then you get to the second act where they're up on the space station and the alien gets loose, and to an extent it feels like a rehash of the original Alien. It's not really a bad thing. It does the alien routine well. There's like really solid isolation horror. There's some really tense moments. And there's a lot more special effects, more aliens than just the one like it was in Alien. But it's sort of the same thing that we've seen before. And in these first 2 acts, I found myself occasionally bored, like, I've seen this before. But like nothing crazy, like I was like sleeping through the whole movie or anything. Now, where this movie really, really shines is in its third act, where just like this wild ride. And there are still some derivative ideas, and it sort of remixes like various movies in the franchise, where it sort of connects and takes ideas from movies from the whole franchise, and redoes some things, adds some things, and in some ways makes previous movies better, which I thought was really cool. There's some clever ideas in here, while it also feels like because they're drawing so much from the past, there's a big lack of originality here. And that's just my main issue with the film, where in a lot of ways it feels a lot like these other legacy sequels we've been getting, where it's just more of the same. Now, to talk about the characters, they're not good characters, really. Like, the only one that's really interesting is Andy, the synthetic, but not even really super interesting as a character, more as a exploration of the synthetics in the alien lore. And the movie tries to get you to care about the relationship, the sort of brother-sister relationship between Rain and Andy, but it really doesn't work. And as much as she kind of says she cares about her brother, the movie kind of does everything in its power to make you think that otherwise, where she doesn't really act like she cares about him, especially after a certain reveal in the middle of the movie where it's like, what, you were gonna do that? Like, the relationship doesn't really work. And all the rest of the characters, like, they're buddies, like, they just feel like they're there to get killed by aliens. There's this one guy who's just a super jerk, and it's like none of these people would realistically be friends with this guy because he's just the worst. But the movie shines in all of its alien aspects, so this part doesn't like it never really felt like it was holding back the movie too much, but I think the movie would have been significantly better with better characters. Like, we're not getting the next Ripley in this, and I didn't expect it to, but I did kind of expect it to have better characters than this. Now, all the special effects in this movie are, I don't want to say immaculate. They're great, and there's just some stuff that kind of feels off, and I really can't put my finger on it. Like the sets in this are great, like they always are in alien movies, but there's just something, I don't know, there was something off about them that makes them feel like I'm just looking at a set and not an actual spaceship, which is really weird because they're really well designed sets, but there is something off about them. And all the spaceships, they look really cool, but they're all CGI. The backgrounds are all CGI, and I know model work is a thing of the past for that sort of stuff, especially with the way spaceships move in the older movies. It does look janky, but they do look cooler, and so there's a little bit something lost there, but it's still, it's beyond passable. It still looks really good. The aliens themselves, they perfected them and aliens. Like they still look great, and they're actually scary in this movie, because they're just always hiding in the shadows or in the ceiling or behind the walls or whatever in places that you'd never expect them to be hiding too. And it's like there's some good jump scares in here. I last review I said I thought Prometheus was the scariest alien movie. This movie is the scariest alien movie, especially places it goes in the third act. Were actually scary, and I'm not easily scared by movies. The alien on human kills are pretty standard for this series. Like you've seen most of them before, getting impaled by the tail, the mouth thing going through the head. But they're some of the best, like refined versions of those kills. Like they're all still really good. But where the movie really shines is when the humans are killing the aliens. They do it in all these different creative ways. It all looks really cool, and like there's a really really good action scene at the end. That's really creative. I won't spoil what they do in it, but it's maybe the best action scene in the series. It's really cool. So Alien Romulus delivers the alien experience that you want. It does it very well. Does it deliver a new alien experience? Very rarely. I'm gonna give my score now before I get into non-spoilers. I'm gonna say it's a 7 out of 10. It's a really good, solid alien film, but it is fairly derivative. The beginning was a little bit boring at times. The characters aren't anything special, but the effects are all great. The alien's great. There are some really tense scenes, some good action scenes, just a bonkers third act. So it got better as it went along. It was a lot of fun. Go check it out if you're an Alien fan. Alright, so I'm going to get into spoilers now. I mainly want to talk about the third act here, and just to sort of better explain my feelings on it, I have to go into spoilers. But first, there is sort of a big reveal in the middle of the movie, that I'm like, are they going to do this? I don't know how they would do this, where there's like this android, the dead android, you only see it in the shadows, and it's like they're intentionally not showing its face. I'm like, are they going to do Ash? How would they do that? And then they did it, and it was really cool, but it did look kind of weird where he looks like CGI because obviously Ian Holm is like really, well, he's not just really old, he's dead. He died 4 years ago. Um, and so it's like, how are they gonna do that? They like DH him or whatever, and it's like I guess they like reused footage, took stuff from his other movies, took his voice, and put it in. As the character goes, I thought it worked really well. It was very interesting because it's not just Ash, it is just a different model, and it makes sense. There would be more models that all look the same, and it does take place like right after Alien, so it makes sense he would be there. And the character was really good, where he's just as menacing as he was in Alien. He's just serving the will of the company. He doesn't care about the humans, but he does also pretend like he does and manipulates them, and he's just the worst, and you hate him just as much as you did in Alien. Now in this, he's not called Ash, it's a different robot. He's called Rook, which I would imagine that's a nod to Bishop, but I just kind of think it's stupid because Bishop wasn't named after a chess piece, he was named after a person. So I mean, it's minor nitpick, but I just thought it was kind of weird. And later in the movie, it's revealed that Rook's goal is to secure the black goo that they extracted from the alien's DNA. The black goo being from Prometheus that turned the one guy into a zombie. And they think it could be the next step in human evolution. It could make us immortal and all this stuff. And, it's obviously dangerous and experimental. Um, and this is one of those things where it ties into the alien lore really well in a very interesting way. It kind of makes Prometheus better. And when you get to the end, we have one of our characters is pregnant and she's like injured, and she gets a hold of the black goo stuff. And she's like, maybe this could heal me of my injuries. Maybe I could like live and just not die. And she injects herself with the goo, and clearly not thinking about the consequences of her baby, because she like pops out an alien egg. Like it accelerates her pregnancy, and she pops out an alien egg. And this whole scene was just shocking and disgusting. And it's just what a crazy year for pregnancy horror. You get Immaculate, The First Omen, and now Alien Romulus. It's just, why all of this in one year? It's so random. But it was just as disturbing. But it was so crazy. The guy sitting next to me in the theater yelled, he's like, "What the?" And it's like, it was really funny. Like, he was obviously disturbed by it. But then out of this egg comes an alien-human hybrid. And while I was watching it, I'm like, what? This is crazy. I mean, I thought it was really awesome. I thought it was really scary, actually, just the way they were doing it. Very tense. But the more I think about it, like when I first saw it, I'm like, this is just a weird new direction for the series. And then I actually started thinking about it. I'm like, wait, they already did alien-human hybrids in Alien Resurrection. And it was more fun in that. The designs were probably better, but they were not as scary as this. And part of me wants to trash on this design because many monster designs of the 2010s have just been tall, lanky, pale, skinny, bony creatures. And like that's like what half of SCPs are and stuff. And so it's not really an original design, but this is the scariest that kind of monster has ever been, in my opinion. And so I can't really trash on it when it does its job. So having the Rook Ash synthetic back, doing alien human hybrids again, bringing back the black alien goo, is what I was sort of talking about remixing ideas from the previous movies in the franchise. And it does it all really well in a fun way, but it also sort of comes off as derivative. And you get a moment, and I think it's the worst of this case, where Andy kills an alien, and then he says Ripley's iconic line from Aliens.
Get away from her, you bitch!
And it just didn't work. And just to better explain how some of this stuff doesn't work for me, I'm going to compare it to Prey, which was sort of a return to form, revitalization of the Predator series, which I'll be reviewing in the coming weeks, which is effectively what Romulus was for Alien, because we haven't had an Alien movie in about 7 years. Now, Prey is the same story as basically every Predator movie, where the hunter becomes the hunted and has to outwit a technologically superior enemy. But Prey does it in a fresh new way, where it goes back hundreds of years in the past to a new setting with new characters, and it just keeps it fresh and interesting. Whereas Romulus, it returns to the roots of the series with isolation horror, which I definitely respect. I think it does it really well. But it just goes back to past movies and sort of steals the ideas and doesn't really do anything of its own to keep it fresh and interesting. And so, again, just the derivative nature of the movie just holds it back for me. I do think Fede Alvarez did a great job doing an Alien movie. I'd like to see him do another one, really. Be able to sort of bring out his own ideas, contribute more to the franchise. Knowing what he's done with Evil Dead being a great movie, and knowing there's way more ideas and concepts to explore in the Alien franchise, I think he could make a really great sequel. So I already gave my score for the movie. Thought it was really good. That's really all I have for Alien Romulus, so thanks for watching.